As you all know, that I will be moving to St. Louis in June, and so Eric and Lenny stepped forward as applicants for the music director position, and so that's why they're here this morning to play through our congregational songs. And so, since this is our center, it would be really helpful for me and the core council to hear your feedback on the energy that you receive from them and the guidance that you get this morning in terms of them being potential, our next potential music directors. And so I would love to hear from you all either directly right after the service, or you can email me. My email is in the bulletin, or feel free to pass on your thoughts to our core council members. Today or tomorrow would be great in terms of the feedback. So. And Lauren Detterer is our feature guest artist this morning, and so she'll be singing our feature songs. That's all that I have. And so let us get ready for some moments of silent meditation, and we'll prepare for that by singing I Release.
Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is love. We breathe in. We breathe out. We surrender. There is no doubt. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is love. We receive. We give thanks. We believe there is no lack. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is love. I breathe in. I breathe out. We breathe in. We breathe out. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is love. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is love.
I want you to picture this. I am in my Zen den in my basement. And I probably have Anyugama or Spa Radio on Pandora. I've got my Bible, my books from Deepak Chopra, my Science of Mind, all my books, and I'm there and I'm meditating on this talk. Because that's what you always do. You go into that place and I'm like, oh, Spirit, what needs to come forward? I'm talking about renewal. And for those of you who know me, I like colorful. I like exciting. And so I'm in this meditation and two words came forward. Conviction, commitment. Oh, I back out of meditation. I'm like, hold on, just a second. Conviction and commitment. Ooh, those sound like downer words. Downer words. Convicted sounds like I've committed a crime. And commitment sounds like I'm going to an asylum. So I'm like, you're killing me here, universe. Let's go back inside. So I do it again. And my interpretation of God has a sense of humor. And it's almost like I hear the chanting from the monks. Commitment, conviction, that's what you're talking about. I was like, okay, all right. So let's examine this. I will trust. And the thing I had to realize about those two terms and what they have to do with renewal is this. I believe in life being sacred, not serious, okay? And what sacred means is you hold it. Everything is sacred. We sing that song, everything is sacred. And there's a time to be quiet in that space, and in the Bible it says there's a time to weep and there's a time to laugh. There's a time for joy, okay? There's also a time to create something anew. And sometimes renewal, you have a house. Sometimes renewal, you just paint that ugly kitchen a different color, you put up a few pictures, and you're good. But sometimes you need a whole new electrical system, roof, painting, and sometimes the house cannot be saved, and you have to do something completely anew. So what I want you to think about today as I begin this talk, I really want you to focus on what is something in your life that you're trying to create anew. Maybe you know you've completely got to demolish that house. Maybe it's a relationship, it's a job, it's a situation. Or maybe you just need a little bit of paint. You need to get to that next place. So I want you to really today take in, as I speak with you, that intention and to be with it. And also at the same time, to think about, as we're renewing as a center, what we're creating anew. So let's do this together. I'm going to go over, just kind of give you a sprinkling, because I know that in each one of you, you have the divine wisdom that knows what direction you need to take and where you need to delve deeper. So I'm just going to kind of give you an overview, and then you go from there. So when I said about conviction, I said that joke about crime and insane, and sometimes you do feel like you're criminally insane when you're renewing. You feel like nobody understands you. Sometimes when you're trying to renew something, people treat you like you're a hardened criminal. Like, why are you trying to change that? It was perfectly good. And I got news for you. A lot of times the people that don't want you to change, it's because they're the ones who need to change even more. And if you're doing it, they're like, oh, I have things to renew. And if she can do it, oh, I don't want to talk to that person anymore. And it does feel like you're insane a lot too. Like crazy things are coming. Now, I read this, it's called Black Holes of Renewal. And it's from a book. That sounds so depressing, but it's not. Please trust me. Please trust me. They're like, Mara's gone crazy. Conviction, commitment, black holes of renewal. Yay, I feel happy. It's from a book called 365 Prescriptions for the Soul, and it's by Dr. Bernie Siegel. And when he talks about renewal, so I'm going to talk about first, you're coming to that place where you know you need to create something differently. And he says, what we need to find our energy and source, the place to look is in the darkness. The darkness. It is in the black holes that the energy of creation lives. Whether we are speaking of the universe or of an individual, darkness is the source of life. Think about that. Darkness is the source of life. When facing emotional despair, hopelessness, or physical anguish, going into the darkness helps us find ourself and renew our life. It is in that nothingness that we can stop and find peace and answers. Who does not want peace and answers, especially if you're going through what appears to be hell? You want that peace and answers. And I want you to very carefully listen to this part, because this is about you. When we see our true potential, we can create ourselves anew. So when you go to that place and you see that potential, we can become like a blank canvas and begin the act of creation out of the darkness. Out of the darkness. So I don't know where you are in your life. We've all had things to renew. And coming to that process, how do you begin to go there? That takes a lot of trust. That takes a lot of trust. I graduated with an accounting degree, believe it or not, in December of 1991. I'll just say it. I'm okay with age. I am okay with age. In December of 1991. And I had a job offer and I didn't take it because this really stressed out guy behind a desk was telling me how great it was to work like 70 hours a week, and he had a brand new BMW and he was only like 24 and he already had an ulcer. And I thought, oh, maybe I don't want to go that route. So I had the year of, let's just call it the year of exploring, whether I was going to go to grad school, what I was going to do. And I'm in that year of exploring, and it's kind of hard to go to grad school when you're always accidentally sleeping through the graduate record exam, or you always show up hungover. So that's kind of how that year was going. And I woke up one day and I realized that although I loved all my friends and I was having a really great time, my life was going nowhere. I was in a dead-end romantic relationship. My friends were great, but then when you're looking at your friends and you realize they're all permanently in grad school, who knows, you know? And your friends have names like Harry, Gary, and Vietnam John. You kind of go, wow, maybe I need to do something and renew. I didn't know where to go or where to start. And so I've always trusted God. And I was like, oh, I need to change. I need something to spur me on, you know? And renewal doesn't always have to come from a horrible thing involuntarily happening to you, but it really sure helps. Because that moves you off the couch. When you're sitting on the couch going, oh, I could do this, I could do that. But when something goes to your heart and your soul, and it got to the point where I realized, you know what, there's no love for me here anymore. And I love myself too much to stay in this place. I've got too much to offer the world, and there's other people out there that need to mentor me. So I pack up my Nissan Sentra with everything I could fit in there, and what I couldn't got sold or given away to grateful people. And you have to understand something. This is how crazy I was, because it was February and I didn't check the weather report, and I'm driving from Texas to Colorado over Raton Pass. And I made it. And when I crossed, I didn't know how dangerous that was till later. People were like, yeah, you didn't even have an emergency kit or anything? I was like, I didn't even have a radio that worked, let alone an emergency kit. And this is before cell phones. So I went for it. I went for it. And that's how I began my process of renewing my life. And it ended up pretty good. 3 of my family members are sitting here. That's what came out of Colorado. And more. So you got to rely on the grace of the universe to get you into that process, whether you're destroying the house completely or whether you just need some new pictures and to put out some flowers. Now, you have to believe that it is possible. And you're going to get that belief and that wisdom and that knowing from inside of you. Now, other people can advise you, and you do want good advisors, but within you, listen to this quote from Science of Mind. I tune into the infinite wisdom within me for clear direction on my path. Okay? So I want you to think about the situation you're trying to renew. Are you going within and knowing that infinite wisdom guides you on that path? And even if you are in the dark, knowing that in that place is ultimate creation and peace and grace. You have to know that. Know that. So, this is where conviction comes in. Conviction is knowing that you know. When I set on that journey, I knew to the end of my toes that it was time for me to go. It was time for me to create a new life for myself, to renew myself. And I knew that. And here's another thing from Science of Mind that says, pure faith is a spiritual conviction. It is the acquiescence of the mind, the embodiment of an idea, and the acceptance of a concept. You need that kind of conviction when you go to renew. The mind needs to give over to it. You need to know that you're going to embody this, and you accept it. Accept it. So in that conviction process, do me a favor and get out of your head. Get out of your head. Because when you're in your head, you write to-do lists and you write goals, which are necessary. Systems are necessary. I have an accounting degree, trust me. Systems are necessary, okay? But when you get too involved in the system and you get away from the spirit of it, you're going to be caught in ideas forever. Forever. Well, if I sell the house now, I could do this, but if I don't, and I know I really need to move, How many of you have been in that place? Or does everybody just go, I'm going to renew and it's all great? I've been in the confusing place. I've been in the confusing place. So get out of your head. A lot of times the saints, Saint Bonaventura was one of them, that taught that love or willingness is higher than knowledge. Wow. Wow. Love or willingness. So have you ever, when you're going to make a change or you want to renew something, have you ever had somebody look at you like, why would you want to do that? Have you ever had those people? Why would you want to change this? Why do you want to paint your kitchen purple? I liked the yellow. I like sitting here drinking coffee with the yellow. Why do you need this? And you know that in you, that love and that willingness is saying, because purple makes me so much happier. This makes me so much happier. It doesn't have to make logical sense. You have the infinite wisdom where? Out here? No, within you. You have it within you. So as you're in that conviction process, you know, another thing I want you to do me a favor is get the naysayers out of your head and get them out of your life. Now, I'm not talking about taking your mother-in-law and saying, you can't come anymore because you're a naysayer, get out. What I'm talking about is don't let it root. Do not let it take root. Ernest Holmes is really clear about this. And I don't know if you guys are as bad about this as I am. I'll have a great idea and I'll be like, yes, yes. And then I'll go, oh, but what if it snows that day? I can't get there. And then what if they don't like what I'm doing? Or, oh, what if my parents watch that YouTube video and think I'm going to hell? Oh, and what if, and then you start to go down this path. And by the time you know it, you're drinking another cup of coffee and you haven't done anything. Now there is a time to be, but there's a time to do. So get that naysayer out of your head, okay? When you start that journey, back away from it and say, oh, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. People call that delusional. That's not delusional. You know when you're being delusional. I know when I'm being delusional. And I know when I just need to turn off those old messages that keep playing that say keep the status quo. I know what to do. And the other thing about is, why do we hang out with people who are just awful to us? I don't know. I think it's because sometimes we kind of believe that a little bit about ourselves and what they're telling us, and it feels safe to be in a group like that. Now there's a great book. I'm going to give you the title of 2 great books. If you're trying to look for a direction in your life, finding out more about yourself. One is called Finding Your Own North Star by Martha Beck. It's a great book. It gives you exercises in there. It's a great book, and she's really funny too. Martha Beck. And there's also a book that I'm going to quote from really quickly called Finding Yourself, and that is by Dr. Don Chatfield. He's an awesome, he's a former Southern Baptist, just like me. He was a Southern Baptist minister, and I met him at the CSL convention in New Orleans. And he says this: if you give others too much power over your life, it can derail your efforts to reinvent yourself. You'll notice that people are not quite sure how to react to you when you begin to get in tune with your real self. With your real self. Have you ever experienced that? People don't quite know what to do when you say, I'm not living in Texas forever. I'm taking off now. What? Why wouldn't you want to live in Texas forever? Because there's bugs and heat. So, you know that you have this infinite wisdom. You're getting rid of the naysayers in your head. You're convicted of this. You know it. You got this. So here comes that other word, commitment. Commitment. That is what is going to keep you going through the process. Commitment is that promise to yourself. It is a big promise. Now, how many of you find it a lot easier to make promises and commitments to other people than to yourself, that you keep those? I will bend over backwards, move heaven and earth to keep a commitment to somebody who I may only marginally like. But then I won't keep a commitment to myself to spend an hour in prayer and meditation or to work out. Why is that? Why is that? Maybe it's because we think if we're putting ourselves in that position, we're being self-centered, egotistical, but we're not. You've heard that saying. I know it's a bit cheesy, but you have to put the mask on yourself before you give it to somebody else. And if you're not renewing and creating in your own life, then you're not helping everybody else out either. Does that make sense? Commit to yourself. So promise. And I'm going to tell you the first part of committing to yourself is really helpful is have a mentor or mentors. Now, a mentor is somebody who has either been through what you're going through or has a really empathetic, sympathetic heart and who loves you unconditionally and who can see the potential in you. Okay? Have time with those people as much as possible because they can show you can get through the other end of this. If you're going through something really difficult, if you're going through a messy divorce, find somebody who you really respect, who's went through a messy divorce and who can say, you're going to be okay. Oh, I remember that stage. That was really awful, but you can do this. As you're creating your new life, you will come out the other end. So to have those mentors. I love this. I was reading a book by Richard Rohr, R-O-H-R. It's called The Naked Now, and it's about bringing mysticism back, specifically to Christianity. He's a Catholic brother. And he says in there that, remember, only transformed people who have the power to transform others is by osmosis. Usually you can lead others only as far as you yourself have gone. Usually. You can only lead others. So have a mentor that is speaking their truth, that has either been through the process or understands it, a transformed person. Okay? So as you keep your promise, have mentors. All right. The other thing is, don't keep checking back where you've been. Don't keep checking back where you've been. I'm going to tell you that Bible story that most of you probably have heard. I'll just go back and give you the details. Sodom and Gomorrah, the two cities, big-time party cities, big-time sin. Okay, I'm paraphrasing a lot, guys. Please do not go look this up and be like, she is lying. I grew up Southern Baptist. I heard the story a lot. Especially when I became a teenager. So you got Sodom and you got Gomorrah, and these cities are awful places, but there's a guy there named Lot, and Lot is a good guy, and he's got his family, and the angels come knocking at his door one night, and they're like, Lot, you got to get your things and get out. God thinks you're cool, but the rest of this town, bam, going. It's going. Okay? The catch is, when you leave, do not look back. God's got a new life for you. God's creating something new for you, but you better get out of town and do not look back. Okay? Really specific. So I can just imagine the families hiking out of town going, okay. Oh, that really weird neighbor, she's going, okay, oh, wow. And they're going, and guess what? Lot's wife could not help herself, and she turned around. Now this is harsh. This is harsh, y'all. She got turned into a pillar of salt. Pillar of salt. Now, that's pretty harsh. Whether you take that story literally or you take it allegorically, symbolically, listen to this part of the story. The deal is they're getting out of this town. They're supposed to be creating, renewing their lives in a different place. And God said, don't look back. Don't look back. Because, and remember this, because at the worst, you're going to turn into a pillar of salt. And at the best, you're going to be driving a car like this and you're going to get in a fender bender. So don't keep looking back, all right? It doesn't mean you don't remember. It doesn't mean you don't refer to your past. But if you keep looking back while you're trying to renew yourself or create a new life and go, this is the way it's always been done, or, oh, I wonder if we change this, okay? If you do that, pillar of salt. Okay, so you've got a mentor, you're not keep looking back so you can keep your promise. The other thing I want you to do is when you have a challenge, change your perspective. Change your perspective. Look at the challenges as opportunities. Look at the challenges as an opportunity, and it makes you stronger as you're going through the process. Richard also says in his book, The Naked Now, if your religious practice is nothing more than to remain sincerely open to the ongoing challenges of life and love, if your religious practice is nothing more than to remain sincerely open to the ongoing challenges of life and love, you will find God and also yourself. You can't help it. Stay open. And I also say, as you stay open in your heart, I have had miracles drop in my lap. When you have been convicted and you are committed, it's like the universe conspires to help you. You get that phone call. When I was coming to Colorado, I was at the end of my rope. The reason I picked Colorado is I had a friend who said, hey, Maura, I'm going to be teaching at the Air Force Academy. You want to come live in my house and figure things out for a while and get a job? Come on up. I'd never been to Colorado in my life. And I thought, okay, I can do it. I can do this. And then I ended up marrying her carpool partner, Spencer. Okay? So you have mentors. You don't keep looking back. You look at the challenges. You change your perspective so you can remain committed. And know that renewal is in each moment. It can be gradual. Now, sometimes renewal, you have to create something new, and it's very quick. It can be like night and day. And let me tell you, that can be really traumatic. I almost gave birth to my second son in a car, okay? When you don't have time to catch up to what's going on, that birth went very quickly, all right? If you have that time to gradually get into it, it can help you. But sometimes you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice, okay? And also, don't judge how long it's taking. Just know that it's good. It's good. It's good. Now, you know that darkness quote that everybody thought was going to be a downer? The end of that darkness quote says, don't be afraid of the darkness. Let the director show you the way. Go inside, discover your own black hole, and emerge with new energy and the true light of awareness. Let the tomb become a womb. Let it go from something dead to the birth of something new. That is true renewal. And so I want to tell you today, as you're going back to what you need to renew, there are mentors. There are people in this community that can help you and be with you. You can get prayer work. We're here for you. And there's teachings here and there's wisdom here that can help you and come from your heart. And as we're moving forward to renewing as a church and we're looking for a new music team and we're looking for a new minister, that's an exciting time. And I'm going to tell you right now, when they call a minister the spiritual leader of a church, that kind of sticks in my craw. And you know why it sticks in my craw? Not because they're not spiritual leaders, but because you're all spiritual leaders, and sometimes you're spiritual followers, and sometimes you're spiritual mentors, and sometimes you're the spiritual mentee. You are guided by the universe. Let's look at, as we renew, as a minister is a spiritual tour guide, as well as a leader, okay? Spiritual tour guide says, been there, stayed in that hotel, you probably don't want to go back. Don't drink the water there. The lobster's delicious. Okay? Somebody who can guide you to the guideposts and lead you when they need to. But do not ever undercut your ability to be a spiritual leader and a spiritual mentor and to renew your life continually. Please do not ever do that. Do not. So, as I wrap up today, I would like to, if this resounds with you, say an affirmation with you. Eric? Oh wait, and since we're doing YouTube, shout out to Monique in Kuwait. All right. So, together, if this resounds with you, knowing that change is good, I jump into newness with the expectation of expanding my view, my experience, and my world. I replace my fear with excitement and curiosity, and so it is. All right.